What popular rumor in your school turned out to be true? There was a family in my town that fostered or adopted all their kids. Everyone had known one of their daughters since she was quite young, and then they adopted another girl her age when we were in 8th grade. They did not get along. When the original girl developed epilepsy a few years later, her new sister claimed she was faking, and everyone thought she was so f***ing mean and ostracized her. Eventually, she had to fess up to faking the seizures all along when she signed up for basic training, which she never even completed. Unfortunately, this was after we all graduated, so we never got to apologize to her sister. In high school, the biology teacher was growing weed in the environmental lab. Supposedly he did it for 30 years without anyone noticing. No one could ever prove it though. Later on, I was assigned to be the agent taking care of some of his financial matters. So I went to his house to have him sign some paperwork. He had a hydroponic setup there. So I asked him about the environmental lab. It was like Han Solo in The Force Awakens. It's true. All of it. Then he offered me a brownie. That one of the students was actually a cop. Turns out he was a cop and busted one of the actual students for selling handguns in school. If you thought 21 Jump Street was unrealistic, think again. Cop was a 33-year-old male and undercover for like half the semester. Our science teacher was having an affair with our science technician and regularly left the class to have sex with her in the technician's room. That rumor started day 1. Then 4 years. 2 divorces and 2 very quick departures later, it was confirmed, and what was left behind was a technician's daughter in my year whose life had fallen apart. That one of the seniors in my school wrote all over the men's room bathroom about bringing a bomb to school. The bomb squad evacuated us all. Dogs came and they found one in a random locker. It was absolutely nuts. There was always a rumor that the head janitor was a huge pothead and would smoke with students in one of the storage sheds away from the main building. I always figured it was bullshit until my friend CJ sent me a pic of him and the janitor smoking weed while surrounded by folding chairs. That a 12-year-old 6th grader had gotten pregnant over summer break. Our Los Angeles County suburb. It was a small and far separated from LA itself. See how large that county actually is on Google if you are unawares. Was so scandalized by this rumor that a newspaper article came out with a cartoon drawing of a pregnant girl in a pretty little girl dress and ribbon in her hair, Osa playing with dolls and kneeling next to a dollhouse. Osa accompanied the story about the little girl who got pregnant and planned to keep the baby. She was interviewed. I remember her name, but it's unnecessary, so the whole damn town knew who it was. What's wild is that the kids in JR I actually had a baby shower for this 7th grader as she got close to full term. And all brought in packs of diapers and formula for her on a designated day. With the teachers, principal, and probably the school district in support of this. The year was 1984 to 1985. In my Catholic, Jesuit, high school, one of the priests and one of the nuns were very close friends. We all loved them. And we could see that they were quite fond of one another, and they made a really nice looking couple. We used to affectionately kid them about meeting in the tunnel between the convent and the rectory. A few years after my class graduated, they both left their orders, got married, and had kids. We're all happy for them. We had a dean who retired one summer. Turns out, he was busted in a huge prostitution drug sting by cops. He had 2 prostitutes and cocaine in his apartment when he got rolled up. Ended up pleading guilty to felony drug possession, a few others I can't remember, and sentenced to 5 years of probation. He was an advisor for the school's drug alcohol task force. Nice enough guy. Really cool with all of his students. Maybe too cool. Always seemed to have super red eyes. Our freshman science teacher was a massive jerk to any girl, and would frequently throw the dress code book at girls for the slightest issue. Everyone said it was because he was pissed his daughter became a stripper. Here's a 2-for-1. First was that one of the kids in my grade way gay. Even back then, most people didn't care. So I didn't think anything of it. Second was that one of the kids hung himself on a swing set in a local park. They didn't say who it was, and just thought it was a vicious rumor about the same guy. Then 4 girls who were close to him came down the stairwell crying and ran out the front door and started heading in the direction of the park. It was confirmed around noon. We were sent home after lunch. In middle school, we had a cool social studies teacher. He loved the popular boys, especially the athletes, and not only ignored bullying in his classes of unpopular kids, he often took part in it. He also offered up his services for tutoring to these boys. Everyone always thought he was a child molester, except the popular boys who would threaten you if they heard you talk bad about him. When we came back to school at the beginning of 8th grade, he was gone, as was one of the more popular boys in school. He transferred to an insanely expensive private school. Turns out, sure enough, he was molested by the teacher several times during tutoring sessions at the teacher's house. The school district agreed to pay to send the kid to private school as part of a settlement. Some girl had sex with her half-brother. We all thought it was rumor until she got drunk at a party and told everyone. I had a science teacher that was rumored to get a boner whenever he started shouting. We thought it was a myth until we noticed it for real. There was a rumor that a teacher had sex with whole basketball team. Turns out it was half of the team. Worst part is her son was on the team. That a science teacher used to be a stripper. Paige was pregnant. None of us believed her. We were 13 and we were just about to start sex ed classes in a few weeks to learn about sex, so we all thought she was making it up. Then she started to gain weight, but she had always been kind of overweight, and so no one really believed her then either. Then she brought sonogram pictures, and because she was sick of people not believing her, most people believed her after that. Then she got taken out of school, and this was back when FB was super popular and everyone was talking about her baby. A few months later she had posted all these pictures. Sorry, I didn't believe you, Paige. I looked her back up when I was 15. She had a second kid. That this girl at my school who was maybe 16 was banging all the older kids who never left for college. Well, she definitely was, and everyone found out when she banged one of the cooler guys still in high school, and there ended up being a herpes outbreak at my school. A girl in my econ class lost her dad, but a rumor started going around that he didn't die. He was arrested as a serial killer. Turned out to be true and was featured a few years ago on Evil Lives hair show. 2 of the science teachers do shrooms together. Found out cause one of their sons was a student. Edit. Apparently this happens a lot. In middle school, there was a rumor my 7th 8th grade social studies teacher owned a pet donkey. Turned out to be true. The donkey's name was Pedro the Donkey. I'm so glad there are some wholesome content after 99% comments of teachers students f***ing. The band director was grooming and seducing his favorite female percussionists. Edit. Apparently this is something of a common occurrence. No. He finally got caught with one of the girls in his car late at night. I was being a father figure, mentor, yada yada yada. Everyone knew the real story. He lost his job, and personally I've never heard about him since. The new teacher was rumored to be a pedophile. We found out it was true when he got arrested just a couple days into the 2nd semester. The captain of the cheerleader squad got a breasts reduction to go from H cups to DD. Oh. And also, some relatively unknown girl did PRN on her senior year spring break after she turned 18, and this was 25 years ago. So she had to send letters and photos in the mail to set it up. Rumor was the junior high English teacher was a bit of a perv. Most of our parents would say, hey, stop joking about that. Turned out he was. About 10 years ago he was arrested, charged and convicted on child PRN charges. Edit. For all the people asking, because I can't answer each one individually, he wasn't discovered and charged until after he'd been teaching for years. Almost a decade after I graduated from HS. There was a complaint he'd been selling weed in exchange for, you know, And finally one of the parents got wind. Police raided his place, found weed and tapes and other things. He was put in jail and of course lost his job. Got stabbed by one of his prior victims, so there's some justice. Small towns. Edit 2. I get that people are upset about background checks, but this was in the late 70s, early 80s, so let's face it. Background checks were mostly calling references and previous jobs. It was simpler. Stupider time. There was a rumor going around in my high school that an English teacher and a biology teacher were sleeping with each other. I thought it didn't make any sense at all. Other than being strict teachers who graded harshly, it's not like they had anything in common, and I'd never even seen them talking to each other or interacting in any way. They were both married, and besides, she was youngish and attractive and he was not. I had always figured that someone who managed to flunk both classes at the same time just decided to start a rumor. My brother is 6 years younger than me, and during his time at the school they both were fired suddenly in the middle of the school year. Turns out it was true all along. They had been caught fraternizing on school grounds. I was pretty surprised. Of all the weird rumors that go around in a typical school, that was the one that had to be true. My middle school math teacher, married man, was having an affair with one of the special education teachers. Went on for years. After I graduated high school, he killed himself when the other woman gave him an ultimatum. Confirmed by a family member that worked as a substitute teacher. Coincidentally, said family member also had an affair with another employee there that resulted in that employee shooting herself in front of my mother. We had heard an underclassman, she was 15ish, was sleeping with a local army guy. But nobody really believed it until the day our school got locked down. BC, her boyfriend showed up with a knife. The boyfriend, in his 30s, was intending to force her go get an abortion. But our principal was a badass who locked her in his office. Then took the boyfriend down and held him in a headlock until the cops arrived. Edit. This absolutely was a case of statutory rape. I use the term boyfriend BC, that's how she still refers to him. And I didn't think about changing it. My bad. I apologize if I angered anyone. New physics teacher was a total creep. The old spidey sense kicked in for all of us. We could all tell something was wrong with the guy. Most of us dropped the class. Plus he sucked as a teacher and everyone was failing. Years later I stumbled across a news article saying the teacher was fired and arrested for videotaping girls in the classroom through the use of camera hidden in the classroom. Mostly aimed at cleavage and upskirt short shots. We knew he was a weirdo. Time always tells the tale. This was a rumor that went around my elementary school. Basically my school had a lockdown, but they didn't tell us what it was for. One kid came in the next day and told us that his sister said it was a cow in the field in between the high school and middle school. So my second grade class went and told everyone else in the school. The next day we had an assembly that confirmed this rumor. The band teacher was having a long-term affair with one of the students. We were in 8th grade. Her parents apparently knew about it all along and were fine with it. But one of the other band parents noticed inappropriate behavior when she was helping chaperone a Disney trip they were all on. It was big news, lol. Why are the parents okay with it? What happened to the teacher afterwards? That this hot chick at my school was banging 2 army recruiters. Found out it was true when they were on the news being arrested. Imagine trying to explain to your wife that you need to uproot everything including your kids and flee to another state because you FK'd a high schooler. My AP US Gov teacher was the daughter of Phil Jackson. We all believed it, and during his last Lakers game her and her family was there and shown on screen. Got a screenshot of her at the game and shared with some friends. We all knew for sure then, but we never really brought it up to be respectful as she didn't like the attention for it. Biology teacher decided to use a scientific method to personally prove or disprove to himself that humans could photosynthesize. He did this by laying bare ass naked on his front lawn, landing him a public nudity charge. One summer, he came back to school and noticed that the very popular drumline instructor and one of the female drumline members, 16 years old, had both disappeared. Obviously, we jumped to the conclusion that there was an inappropriate relationship going on. Just a few years ago, I was sitting next to a band teacher at a bar, and I relayed this story. He confirmed that it was true. One of the teachers was banging a student. Taylor's mom gave Mark a handy during football practice. My high school janitor was my baby brother's dad. Vice principal was checking out female students and taking pics. He got fired. That a girl in my grade gave her older brother a BJ with pop rocks in her mouth for $50. Her fiancé confirmed it for us years later. Turns out it's a fetish of hers. The pop rocks. Not the incest. Kinda wild that not only would someone get engaged to a mate with a known history of doing that, but also talk about it and confirm rumors. My fiancé is a total freak bruh. Oh, by the way, it's $75 without the family discount. That the creepy track coach computer teacher with a Corvette and a hair transplant, worst case of midlife crisis I've ever personally seen, was banging an underage student. The goth freshman liked to fist herself. She is a camera model now. In elementary, about 15 years ago, our favorite school teacher didn't come back after a summer break. He was awesome. Funny. Sporty. Cool. Down to earth. Never shouted. Just a great role model to have around when you are a kid. Rumors went round that his wife and daughter died in a car accident. No one believed it. It was just what kids said on the playground. Somebody heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody. Then I went to the local grocery store with my mom a little while after school had started again. I saw my old teacher. He was a shell. A wreck. I was only 8, but even then you can tell when someone isn't there anymore. I asked parents of my friends, and they confirmed the rumors. I felt so bad that something as awful as that could happen to one of the best guys I ever knew and always looked up to. Turns out he committed suicide a couple of years ago. Same bridge that his wife and daughter died on all those years ago. One of our teachers were f***ing a rich student's dad for expensive cars and other shit. I went to a private school and we had a similar incident. They hired an art teacher that wasn't very good at art, and within like 3 months one of the students' parents had filed for divorce and the art teacher was dating the dad. They got engaged towards the end of the year and she quit. They got married the following Christmas and she immediately got pregnant. It was pretty obvious to everyone why she took the job in the first place. At our school, this one kid was rumored to be a son of one of the local gym's amateur boxer teacher. None of us had no real reason to think twice about it. Once we got to high school, this kid started teasing that kid. I had a couple of mutual friends with the bully, so I warned the guy he might want to let up on teasing him. A couple days go by, the dude didn't stop. And the boxer's kid proceeded to give this guy one of the worst one-sided fights I have ever seen. The bully learned his lesson and never bullied anyone else for the rest of our high school years. So it turned out to be true. Some teachers spread some rumors that I won't be successful in life. Father Barnes got Sister Mary pregnant. Principal Lassiter had spray on hair. That this one gym teacher was a pervert. Turns out he actually f***ed a student, and when it got out, a young lady wanked off her pet dog at a house party. I heard it was true when I went to talk to her, because she was in my friend circle. I said, hey, just so you know, I don't believe those disgusting rumors going around that you blew a dog. That's just awful. I don't know who would even come up with something like that. And she up and said, yeah. I didn't blow him, I just tugged him off a bit. Stunned silence. Edit. Please stop asking what country state school this was. For one thing, I'm not trying to out the dog wanker. Plus I'm not going to thereby say what high school I myself went to. But most importantly, every time one of you guesses incorrectly, that's just another unfortunate incident of pet molestation I'm now aware of. One incident was enough. Too much. Even.